Hello everyone, it is I, the Fable of Fables, your new best friend. Someone suggested I should probably check out the Gibraltar attack that never was. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, do like, comment, and subscribe. It really means the world to me. Please share this with your friends. Talk to me about your favorite aquatic units so far. Because honestly, I kind of like the aquatic units more than anything. I love the fact that they're shaped like eggs, and someone in the comments section explained to me that the reason they're shaped like eggs is because it is the best. It is what it is the shape that is best used against high pressure underwater, which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, let's go.
Jaburo, or Jaburo as it's also pronounced, was the Federation's headquarters during the One-Year War, so obviously it was one of Zeon's priority targets.
Oh yeah.
But taking it out wasn't gonna be so easy. It was a massive base that was built deep underground in the Amazon basin in South America, and it was so deep even that it was believed not even nukes could damage it.
Oh
The
damn.
only real way to get in was through one of the main gates, like we see in the anime when the wide base arrived at Jaburo. The problem for Zeon, though, was that despite knowing the general location of the base itself, the entrances were top secret, very well hidden, and extremely fortified. This was then one of the reasons for Operation British. A conventional assault would have
Oh,
been
British.
extremely costly, and it would have also been an extremely big gamble. But since they did know the general location of the base, they decided that they'd just drop a colony onto it,
Oh,
which is then how we got
really?
the opening shots for the One-Year War.
Seriously? Every time I see that, my friend has a habit of literally fucking putting a gif, like a gif that says we're about to do a little trolling. I hate it.
Zeon manages to secure a colony for the drop, and the Federation desperately fights to prevent them from dropping it. They don't completely manage to stop the drop, but at the very least, they knock the colony off course, causing it to hit Australia instead of Jaburo. And while
I
this
hate it here.
definitely sucked for the Aussies, it allowed the Federation to live on and fight another day. And after nukes and colony drops are outlawed, it also forced Zeon.
The fact that you said after it's outlawed, like it should, it's just, oh my fucking god, that should have been outlawed to begin with. What do you mean after? Oh, I
To
hate
come up with a
this.
different plan. And we all know how this one played out. After discovering one of their top secret entries, Char scraped together whatever forces he could and then launched a hurried, full frontal assault on Jaburo, which then ends in a complete disaster for the Zeon forces. Their airborne units were welcomed with a heavy anti-air barrage, taking out many of their mobile suits before they even got to the ground, and the ones that did make it would then have to face heavy artillery fire, several high-performance prototypes, and the Federation's brand new mass production unit, the RGM-79 Jim A-Type.
Oh yeah.
Zeon forces were able to get into Jaburo, but the only thing they found there was an early grave. However, it didn't have to be this way, because before Char jumped the gun, Zeon was preparing for a very different attack. Rather than taking Jaburo's defenses head-on, they were going to launch an underground surprise attack with teams consisting of purpose-built mobile suits. The EMS-05 Ag, MSM-04G Juaggu, MSM-04N Agguguy, and MSM-08 Zogok. So now, let's go over the characteristics and the plans for these very unique looking mobile suits.
Ooh, okay. Can someone tell me what this one is and this one is? I know he already said it, but still, I love these two. They're so weird looking.
First up, the Ag. Definitely the most interesting
Never
looking
mind. He's already telling me what
one
it
of the
is.
four, but perhaps
Nice.
also the most important one of the four.
I love the
Rather than
ag.
being
Look
designed
at
for
it.
combat, it was meant to drill the tunnels that the other machines would be invading through. So instead of weapons, it had two large saw blade-esque cutters on its body, two large drills on the arms, and a laser torch on its snout. And to move around, it had two large hovering units for legs that consisted of 3 fans and 2 power supplies each, again contributing to its very unique appearance.
I love it.
Some Aggs, though, would also be outfitted with 4-tube missile launchers. One could be installed on top of the head, and 2 more could be installed inside of the drill arms. But it is highly likely that not too many Aggs would be configured like this. The offensive capabilities of the Agg, whether it had the missile launchers or not, was virtually non-existent. It was officially designated as a mobile suit, but in reality, it was just a big digging machine. And adding some missile launchers to the machine wasn't going to change this. If anything, they would get in the way of its main purpose, which was digging. Which is then why the fighting was left to the other 3 machines, like the Zogok, a close combat mobile suit with some
I love the Zogok. I don't know, I love these stupid units.
very
They're so
unique
fun
weapons
looking.
that sources can't quite agree on. And this is especially the case with the 10 weapons installed on its head. In the original MSV book, these are called boomerang-style wide cutters, but in some later sources, this weapon would be split in 2. It would have 10 boomerang cutters on the head, and then 10 wide cutters in the abdomen. Somewhere. And this claim would also be repeated in the manual of the high grade of the Unicorn version. Here it is mentioned that the weapons in its abdomen were replaced with extra cooling. But this is then despite the Unicorn version looking almost identical to the original MSV version.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
while those wide cutters are up for debate, the head-mounted boomerang cutters are fired by little built-in arms with enough power to penetrate even Gundarium alloy. Its arms then have a unique extending mechanism, which was said to be able to extend over 20 meters. And to give that long-distance punch some extra power, the entire hand was specifically designed for punching, with something called square-cut fingertips that could easily penetrate the armor of enemy mobile suits. Also, despite their size, they could still use standard handheld weaponry, and they could even use their own boomerang cutters as a blade.
It makes sense. Yeah, they look sharp enough to be made into
And the thing the
actual
sources
blades.
can't quite agree on here is how many fingers the hands have. Sometimes it's
Oh.
4, sometimes it's 5. As for the design of the mobile suit itself then, as you've probably guessed from the model number, it was a variant of the MSM-07 Zogok that was developed in parallel. But while the Zogok was an
Zogok.
amphibious mobile suit focusing mainly on underwater combat, the Zogok focused mainly on land combat. And this was especially obvious from its backpack, which had standard thrusters to give it maximum performance on dry ground. The downside of this focus on land combat, though, was that its generator didn't use the same water cooling system that many of Zeon's other amphibious mobile suits used, giving it a lower output.
Makes
And this was then
sense.
one of the reasons why it didn't have any built-in beam weaponry. The other one is supposedly that beam weapons were considered too flashy for a mobile suit that was meant for a stealth infiltration mission. During the UC 0090s though, one Zogok was seen with a BR-87A beam rifle, but it must be noted here that this specific unit had its punching hand replaced with a standard hand. So this is no indication that a standard issue Zogok was able to use handheld beam weaponry, as is. I'd say that it most likely wasn't able to do so. As for the color scheme then, in the original MSV book we see 2 color schemes appearing, a red and white one and a teal and green one, but no further explanation is given here as to
I don't know. I love the designs. I know I keep saying that,
what
but I
these
love the
color schemes
designs.
mean. So especially early on, it was really just up to the artist to use whichever color scheme they wanted to use. And it wouldn't be until much later
Look
that
at
the
that.
red color scheme became the standard color scheme, and that the teal and green color scheme became the Jaburo capture version. But then, for example, you have this old illustration featuring 2 red Zogoks fighting the Gundam at Jaburo. So you can really decide for yourself what the deal with the color schemes is. Personally, I like to think that it was a similar situation as with the rigged Diasis. Originally, the red one was meant for Char and the green one meant for standard soldiers, But then the red just became the de facto standard colors because people liked it so much. Joining the Zogok in close combat then was the Agguguy, a development of the Agguguy that feels like it belongs in something that wouldn't be allowed on YouTube. All jokes aside, the Agguguy was still very close to the Agguy in terms of design, and especially on the inside. In fact, it was originally described as an Agguy that just got remodeled for the Jaburo capture operation. The head was made much bigger to incorporate a large and powerful compound eye, and it also got different weapons, as I just alluded to. The large head got 2 built-in Vulcan guns, and the arms could be outfitted with either double heat rods or claws. The heat rods were an improved version of those used by the Goof, and could therefore be used to either shock the enemy or slice him in half, and the claws were inspired by the iron nails of the Zogok. As for its overall performance then, the Agguguy was described as having thick armor, but still being very agile, making it extremely deadly in close combat.
Yeah, we did actually see the video on some of these units already, which is kind of funny, but like I said, someone did recommend I check this one out, so that's why we're here. It's interesting though.
Also, despite being classified as an amphibious mobile suit, it was more suited for combat in swamps and wetlands.
Makes
And
sense.
finally, we have the Juaggu, the long-range support unit of the 4 that was also a development of the Agguguy.
I have yet to watch the video on this, but rest
And
assured it
just
will happen
like the
eventually.
Agguguy, despite initially looking quite different from the Agguguy, the internals were actually still very similar. But of course, not quite as similar as those of the Agguguy, because the Juaggu did get some more radical changes to turn it into its long-range support role. It got a very pronounced exhaust, trunk on the face, and much heavier weapons. In its body, it got 4 megaparticle cannons, and on the arms, it got 2 triple-barreled 320mm rocket launchers,
Oh my lord.
which were also strong enough to tank a beam saber attack and could even be used as improvised melee weapons. But if the mission called for it, the rocket launchers could also be replaced with more standard forearms. The weird thing, though, is that the MSV book claims that these are Zogok forearms, but the arm that we see in the illustration is almost completely different. The only similar thing is the hand. But yeah, as with the Agguguy then, despite being classified as an amphibious unit, it was mainly suited for combat in swamps and marshes, with the high grades
Yeah.
manual even going one step
Interesting. What is this weirdo right
further.
there?
It says that it was basically a land combat mobile suit that could simply travel underwater to get to its destination. And for attacking a base like Jaburo, that does sound perfect. But while these were the 4 mobile suits that were going to attack Jaburo according to the original MSV book, 3 decades later, MSVR added a 5th machine to
Oh yeah, I remember a lot that I saw this dude. He's so
roster.
stupid.
The
I love him.
EMS-05F Azock, a development of the EMS-05 AG that was mainly meant to provide logistical support during the attack. Like the AG, its mobility was less than ideal, making it a poor match for enemy mobile suits, but it did pack quite some weapons to make it a very effective tool against vehicles and buildings. It had 4 Vulcan guns on the head and a weapon pod on each arm. These contained a megaparticle cannon, a flamethrower, and 4 missile launchers each, with these launchers being capable of firing surface-to-surface missiles, underwater missiles, and small torpedoes. Other weapons were also considered for the pods, but given its role and rush development, these weapons were considered to be the best. And if the situation called for it, the arms could also be replaced with anti-mobile suit mine excavators.
Oh my goodness.
These giant things looked extremely intimidating,
They look extremely intimidating.
but the
Goodness.
3 claws and 2 dozer blades weren't meant for combat. Instead, they were for raking out buried mines, particularly those meant for use against mobile suits, something that Jaburo probably had a lot of. Also, they had a small mono-eye on the side to better survey the work area. As for getting to Jaburo, just like all of the other machines in this video, it was amphibious enough. It could get to Jaburo, and it could fight in rivers if need be, but that was about it. Originally, Zeon wanted 30 of these machines to participate in the attack, but only 8 machines were ever completed, and these were only completed by cannibalizing the axe production. Some Azocks were supposedly sent out to units in the field, but it's largely believed that they never saw any action, with surviving units being seized by the Federation after the war. So, their plan of attack seems to have been pretty straightforward.
Made sense. Their attack seems to have made sense, but from what I understand, Char literally said, haha, I'm Char, I'm a dumbass. I'm gonna do what I want. And then it backfired. Is that
Thanks
fair
to
to
the
say?
digging capabilities of the Agg, they would drill their way into Jaburo, with different teams probably taking different approaches. This would allow them to take the Federation by surprise, and would give them the opportunity to destroy a lot of important assets before the Federation even knew what hit them. And with this momentum, they would be able to conquer the entire base, winning the war for Zeon.
Oh, yeah.
Or so they hoped, because I'm sure you can see some problems with this master plan of theirs. With the main one being time. The Battle of Jaburo happened on November 30th, and by this time, all 5 machines had been completed, with a few units even being produced, but due to various reasons, almost none of them actually participated in the attack. But so, mass production was seemingly around the corner. So far, so good. What was also around the corner though, was the Federation's big push into North America. By this time, Europe was pretty much retaken, Asia and Africa were falling, and the tide was also turning in Australia. By December the 5th then, Federation troops were in North America, and on December 15th, California base itself fell. And while in our new timeline, the Battle of Jaburo doesn't happen on November the 30th, the other dates aren't really gonna change that much. They might be off by a few days now, but they're still roughly gonna be the same. Realistically speaking, Zeon only has a few days, or like a week at max, to pump out these amphibious units and get them en route to Jaburo before the Federation is beginning their own massive attack. And then you gotta take into account the time that it'll take for them to get from California to the Amazon region undetected, plus the time that it'll take for them to drill into the base. In typical Zeon fashion, it feels like too little, too late.
Oh, Lord.
So yeah, even though in the beginning I said that Char jumped the gun, his attack on Jaburo might very well have been the last possible moment that an attack on Jaburo had a chance at success.
Oh, really? Interesting.
By the time the Agg and friends would have been ready to get digging, they probably would have been used in the defense of California base instead.
That's true.
But yeah, that has been all for this video on the original Jaburo capture plan, which was suggested to me by CH Heinrich 8486 as a question of the week, but I decided to turn it into a regular video instead. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time.
Alright, guys, if you like this kind of content, do like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna go for a walk. I will see you all later. Take care, stay safe, drink plenty of water, greet good people. Bye.